Washington Journal continues.
Debate today in the House, second time around, the financial markets bill coming up. This one, the version the Senate passed the other day, and you're opposing this bill. Why?
Well, I think it's just insanity. I mean, quite frankly, I mean we've rushed to judgment here. The administration, Wall Street officials, all the leadership in this country has really failed the American people. We're putting together now almost $1 trillion bill. It's going to be almost $850 billion with really little debate, and it's essentially going to be a bailout package. And the American people know it, and the American people are asking their representatives to vote against it.
Is there anything changed in this Senate version which particularly keeps you opposed to the bill?
Well, yeah, because essentially all they did was add more Christmas decorations to the Christmas tree. And the problem is they need to replace the Christmas tree, because the Christmas tree is what transfers $700 billion essentially into one man's hand. It's the largest transfer of power from one branch of government to the executive branch of government. And quite frankly, I just can't understand why representatives in the Congress don't understand this.
How about your colleagues? What's your sense of your Republican colleagues who opposed the bill last time around? What's your gut feeling on where they're going?
Well, I think what they've done is they've loaded this bill up. They have all the tax extenders in there that a lot of Republicans like. They put the mental health bill in there. They added FDIC insurance, did some of the mark-to-market reforms, and then they're breaking arms. So I think they'll get the 12 votes today. It'll be very close, but I think
when you say they're breaking arms, what does that mean? In
well, when you get when you're taking calls from your state governor, the White House, the vice president, the Treasury secretary, your leadership.
You've gotten a call from the Governor Schwarzenegger?
We got a letter yesterday.
And
well, there's no reason to talk to me. I mean, they know that I'm not going to switch my vote, so they're not counting me on the list of 12.
Let's hear from our callers too on the bill. If you support the financial markets legislation coming up for debate today in the U.S. House, 202-737-0001. If you oppose the bill, 202-737-0002. A look here in the Washington Post of Spencer Backus and Barney Frank of the House Financial Services Committee. They testified yesterday before Rules. It's coming up today. They're not allowing any, according to the Rules Committee, no amendments will be allowed to it. So it's coming up for 90 minutes of debate. You talked about the things that have been added onto it. They write that several Republicans were contemplating withdrawing support. Spencer Backus, who was among the key negotiator on the bailout measure, now he's considering going the other way.
Oh, really? Well, we'll see. I mean, I think they're going to end up with the votes today, unless the American people revolt and have to call their congressman. I mean, that's going to be the only way that this stops, is if the calls to the Capitol really increase, then maybe we'll get some of the members of Congress to either change their vote or stay a no. What I think is important for people to understand is we have a serious problem, and we all take it very seriously. But the key difference here is that what I and we had 12 other Republicans advocate this is we said, look, if the problem is the banks, because that's what we were told. We're told we have to vote for this because if not, there's going to be a run on the banks. And what we're saying is, then let's shore up the banks first. Let's do one thing right. Because if we are in a global depression, let me tell you something. $700 billion is not going to fix the problem. If there's $5 or $6 or $7 trillion in so-called toxic assets out there, how's $700 billion going to fix it? So what we're saying is, what some of the House Republicans are saying, and many Democrats and many economists and many market analysts are saying, shore the banks up first. And so why don't we do that, similar to what Warren Buffett did with GE yesterday, where you infuse capital, so the government could infuse capital into the banks, get paid interest on that capital. This would allow Bernanke to go in and decide which of the 100 supposed banks that are in trouble right now, and he could infuse capital into the banks that will make it. Of the 100, maybe not all of them will make it, but that's what the Bernanke's decision, that's what he has to do. We have to take politics out of this. What we're doing is, instead of doing what I'm advocating, we're giving $700 billion and basically throwing it up on the wall to say, go fix the problem by buying up these toxic assets, and that's crazy.
So you don't disagree with the Treasury Secretary and others say something's got to be done because the credit markets are frozen, businesses can't take out loans.
I don't disagree, and I don't think you'll find a member of Congress that disagrees. The difference here is that do we transfer $700 billion to the executive branch to throw up on the wall and decide what they want to do and buy up toxic assets and all the other things they're talking about doing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really broad authority. Or do we do one thing right? If we're in a global depression, which is what people are saying, then we ought to shore up the banks first. I mean, we ought to have the strongest lending institutions in the world. And I don't know that we're going to do this with this legislation. Maybe hopefully Paulson will do that. I mean, if he does one thing, I hope he shores up the banks with the $700 billion.
Congressman Devin Nunes of California with us for another 20 minutes or so, taking your calls on the financial markets legislation. Atlanta, Georgia supports the bill. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm in support of the bill for the simple reason, if we don't build more bombs with that money to set up for World War III, what else we going to do with it? You see what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know that we're going to build any bombs with it, but I think what they're going to try to do is buy up the toxic assets.
The Hill newspaper this morning, the headline is bailout heads for 218. That's the number they need to pass?
Yeah, I think it's actually 217 because of the passing of Stephanie Tubbs Jones. And then I think there's a member that's sick or not here.
And the vote last time around was?
We were 12 votes short. 12 votes short.
Basking Ridge, New Jersey opposes the bill. Hi there.
Hi, how you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Well, the reason I oppose it is that the government is going to get involved with business, and the government has trouble running the government besides getting involved with business, and I'm totally against that because it's just going to cause more problems, more bureaucratic regulations that have nothing to do with business. Let the people run it that understand it, not politicians that want to play politics with it.
Well, I don't disagree with you at all, and I think that's the trouble is that, if we just throw $700 billion out there, we don't know where that money's going to go. And it allows, one branch of government to decide who the winners and losers are going to be. There's a good chance that only the big guys will get bailed out and the little guys won't. And I think the American people see it as very unfair, and that's why 12 of us, there was 12 Republicans who said we will vote for the package if you shore up the banks, if that's what you want to do. If you want to shore up the banks, we'll support it. If you don't, then we don't want any part of it.
Congressman Nunes, you are a farmer by occupation?
Yes. Yeah.
What have you heard from fellow farmers about how this whole situation with credit, et cetera, is affecting their business?
There's been no impact at the local level at this point, and that's part of their problem is that if there is a credit crunch, it hasn't been seen on Main Street yet.
Is that because farmers and others in your area are working through local or community banks?
The community banks, and they're not borrowing as much money. But what we have to do, you have to understand, is that we're not advocating doing nothing. We're just advocating doing something and doing it right. I believe that the leaders in this country have created a panic. They've created a global panic. Now, does that mean that we're not going into a recession? No, I think we have a bubble that's about to burst, and what we'd like to do is slowly deflate that bubble. That's what they're trying to do. But you have politicians, and virtually every newspaper reporting in this country, they're following the Dow Jones up and down as if based on what Congress is going to do. That's insanity.
Was there any concern about Monday's vote happened at midday and the market dropped that day 777 points?
Well,
is there any concern about the market today with
you probably had a lot of speculators who were speculating that this big bailout was going to drive the market up, and it had been predicted that bill was going to pass.
And so
what happened was that the American people stood up, called their congressman, and said, "Don't pass this bill. This is crazy." And if you follow that logic, if you want to take the logic from Monday that the Dow dropped, well, yesterday the Dow dropped, and it's been reported in the news largely that this bill is going to pass. So that means we probably shouldn't vote for the bill today if the Dow was dropped yesterday. I mean, making decisions like this and leaders saying that the Dow Jones is a reflection upon how we should vote on a bill in Congress that was supposed to infuse capital and liquidity in the marketplace. This is crazy. I'm a farmer, and I'm not an economist, but I'm smart enough to figure out that that's just nuts, and the American people don't buy it.